to be one of the best in the history of the game, it's not enough to be able to attack well and destroy your opponents. Sometimes you need to defend well and to put resistance in very bad positions against your strong opponents. Magnus Carlsen, so-called the GOAT, the greatest of all time in the history of chess, is one of the few players in the history of the game that can put a lot of resistance in very bad positions against strong opponents. And sometimes it's very frustrating for his opponents to be able to convert a good position or a winning position into a full point against him. I guess he's one of the few players in the history of chess that can put so much resistance and sometimes even turn the table completely and win even lost positions. In his recent match against Hans Niemman, it was a phenomenal match. Everybody was watching and so many people thought that, okay, Magnus Carlsen has clear understanding of chess, superior understanding of positional chess, endgame, tactical vision, opening and everything, and he was better than Hans Niemman. Yes, all of these things are correct, but there was a very hidden factor in his match against Hans Niemman and even against Alireza Firuzja that made a very big difference in these matches. The main factor was that Hans and even Alireza Firuzja could able to get very good positions against him, especially in the first rounds of the tournament. They had very good positions, but suddenly Magnus Carlsen was turning the table, and suddenly he used some very special kind of skills to prevent their opponents to easily win their games. And Hans was never able to win a game easily against Carlsen. In this video, we are going to see one of the few skills that Magnus Carlsen have in very bad position, or even in, it's better to call in worse position against his opponent. This one is somehow a tactical positional skill, and I call it an exchange sacrifice in bad positions. Magnus Carlsen knows how to sacrifice material when his position is bad, to be able to play to put pressure on his opponent in practical terms. For engines, it doesn't matter. If Magnus even sacrifice, they might win easier. But against human beings, Magnus knows how to play and how to put lots of resistance that his opponents are not able to convert. This first game is a very, very special kind of game. Magnus Carlsen has the white pieces. It's the 13th game of the match against Hans Niemman. And Magnus started with pawn to e4 with a king pawn move. With c5, knight f3, d6, Magnus played the Moscow variation in Sicilian defense. And after knight d7, a4, before this game the result is 8-4 and Magnus is up clearly. Knight f6, knight c3, g6. And Magnus was experimenting all kind of openings. And this idea of a5, a6, I guess it's not a very good idea. And after these moves, Black got a very good position actually, and he played c4. His threat is to play knight c5 in this position, to attack e4 and to chase this rook away. After d4, c takes d3, queen to b7, rook comes back, and rook to c8. Yes, the a7 pawn is a little bit weak, but b2 pawn is also weak, and Black has very good activity, and his bishop on g7 is also a monster. After rook f c8, h3, knight c5, Black is already slightly better, and Magnus plays queen e2, rook b8. And here, Magnus Carlsen made a tactical mistake, and he played d4. This was a clear overlook by Magnus Carlsen. He didn't saw knight takes e4, and Hans fastly took on e4. And at this position, Magnus has 2.5 minutes, and Hans had roughly 1.5 minutes. And here it's a very important decision for Magnus. He can play bishop f4, this is good, but he plays knight takes e4. And after knight takes e4, he plays bishop f4. The point is that after queen takes e4, rook takes e4, with rook takes c1, you're going to lose this game. So Magnus plays bishop f4, he's attacking the knight, and Hans found a brilliant move. He found knight f6. And he found that if he plays queen takes e7, if Carlsen takes on e7, he will take back, and after rook takes e7, he has knight d5, double attack, attacking the rook and the bishop on f4. And it's a very important position. Many of us will probably retreat with bishop d2 or play rook e1, and after that Black plays knight d5 and he has an excellent position. But look how Magnus Carlsen plays a very practical decision in this moment. He plays queen takes e7, that seemingly is going to lose the game. After queen takes e7, rook takes e7, knight d5, what are you going to do? because you don't have rook e4. Be aware, there is f5 also, and you cannot defend your bishop, so you cannot do that. But Magnus plays bishop takes d6, and after knight takes e7, he takes bishop takes e7. And now, yes, black is an exchange up, but it's very hard to win this game. Especially you're going to lose your a7 pawn, probably. He plays bishop f8, that was strange for me. Probably check, and then rook b7 was the best idea. But I told you, Magnus was putting pressure in practical terms. He thought probably that after bishop c5, what's the difference? I'm going to lose this pawn. But after that, rook c2, and if you take on a7, then there is rook takes a7, and this position white is lost. This position is white is lost because black has bishop and rook, and these two pieces can coordinate. I'm not sure that I am able to win this position with the black pieces because it's very hard. All of the pawns are on the same side. So, but in the game, Hans Niemman plays bishop f8 and Carlsen takes on a7. And after rook c1 check, which was a mistake, he should have played rook a8. He should have played rook a8 in this position to chase this rook, because after these moves he can put his rook on a2 and he can win this pawn. This is for him. But what he done was he thought that he's smart. He played rook c1 check and then rook takes b2. He thought that, okay, after knight d5 I will take on f2 and I'm going to defend. But guess what? Magnus plays knight d5. He attacks this, and the problem is if you take on f2 there is knight to d3 and you're going to lose exchange back and the game is going to be equal. So by this means, now Hans Niemman has to play rook c2, and after that rook takes f7 check, and now it's even dangerous for black in this position to play because Magnus has three pawns, and here look, once again rook d6, a very big mistake. I don't know, he probably wanted to prevent knight f6 or what, because he was in a big time trouble, and after that knight f6 check, and here knight d4, and Hans resigned this game. Imagine this position, and Magnus Carlsen was down a pawn. His opponent found a brilliant move, knight f6, with the idea of knight d5, and it seems like that queen takes e7 is a blunder, and after bishop takes knight d5 you're going to lose this game. But Magnus, with this exchange sacrifice, was able to defend very well, and at the last points of the game, Hans even blundered and Magnus won the game. Let's have a look at another game. This is the first game of the match that Magnus Carlsen had white pieces, and he was clearly worse in this position because black has threats like knight a6 or knight c6 and a4. His last move was c5. He wants to put pressure on white's queen side, and here Magnus Carlsen plays rook takes c5. He says, okay, this exchange for you, and it's a very practical decision. I'm sure that Magnus knows his worth, but here in this position Magnus even made a mistake. He should have played bishop d4 to have control over rook b6, but let's see what happens. Hans even played very well in this game, and he was able even to trade the queens, and in this position he had a very good position, but it's very hard to win this game. It's a material imbalance, and you need to find very good moves to be able to convert this position. Here a4 is good, rook b5 is good, but in practical terms it's hard to play for black because knight d3 is coming, d5 is going to lose, bishop can come back to g2, this d5 pawn is under pressure, this bishop on h7 is not playing yet, but Hans Niemman overlooked with b5 and he just lost his exchange. This is what I'm talking about. His ability to resist in bad position, and after that it was just a piece of cake for Magnus Carlsen to convert this position into a winning game. I have another example in this match. In this position Magnus Carlsen had the black pieces. Hans played a5, another brilliant move by Hans Niemman. He wants to put his rook on b6, and he had something tactical in his mind. If Magnus Carlsen going to take on a5, I'm going to play queen g4, and against rook g6 I'm going to play knight d7 check, wins an exchange. And guess what? Magnus Carlsen just took. And after queen g4, he doesn't even play g6, he plays rook g6, and he knows what's going to happen. He knows what's going to happen. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about material. Hans played very well here in this position, queen d1. This game Magnus Carlsen actually lost the game. I will show it to you. But in this position, imagine if Magnus played well, for example, played rook d8. He was low on time. Imagine rook d8 and after queen a5, something like queen a2. And imagine you will be able to play a5, a4 in this game. And how white is going to win this position. It's very hard to win this position in practical terms. What Magnus done was not very bad, he played this, but here putting the rook on f6 was a wrong idea. He should have played rook d8. This is clear move, and after that it's hard for white to convert. But he played rook f6, and here queen a8 was a very strong move. Hans overlooked it, he played h4. Magnus once again didn't saw it, rook b8. And here, for example, queen a7. You prevent queen from coming to a8, and you're just going to push. If rook b1, in some positions you even have knight takes e4, because after queen takes e4 there is queen takes f2 check, and suddenly rook f4, and it's black that wins the game. So queen a7 was a multi-purpose move, and it could have very good effects actually. I'm not sure how he's going to defend, but like engine says, like something like this, and after c5 knight takes c5 rook b8, but black can resist with knight d6, and this position is also hard for white to win. But Magnus Carlsen overlooked in this position. He played a3, and after queen a8, it's very hard to defend. He was just relying perhaps on rook b8. I'm not sure what he was having in mind. Maybe knight d6, but after that, even queen f8, queen a8 is going to win. So queen a8, and Magnus lost this game. h5, a very good move, because if you take, there is rook check, and then queen e8 check. White is going to win the game. Magnus played this, but Hans was able to deliver checkmate. But in the other two games, and especially this is my favorite moment of this match. This move, queen takes e7. This is clear indication that Magnus Carlsen knows how to make things difficult for his opponents. And in this position also, this one was also very nice. Like this rook takes c5 was a very great decision. This decision was also very good. I mean, this one, I'm not talking about the result. This decision was very good actually. Just one actually. But this decision was very good for me. I mean, I don't know how white is going to win this position. If you have a clear plan in mind, please write down in comments. But this is one of the skills that Magnus Carlsen have. And someone like Hikaru Nakamura is also like Magnus in this kind of terms. And he can put resistance very well, especially in low on time. But this is what Magnus have. And in the recent chess, in nowadays chess, I can only see Magnus, Hikaru, and you can name others even, maybe some in the comments, that who have very good defensive skills in bad positions. And this is why he's world champion. This is why we call him GOAT, maybe alongside Garry Kasparov and Bobby Fischer. Everybody has different opinions, but we can learn from Magnus Carlsen, and in this video we learned from his exchange sacrifices. In the later videos I will show another skills of Magnus Carlsen that he uses in practical terms to be able to defend bad position or to win even some equal positions. If you like this kind of content, please like the video, please share it with your friends, and please support us in any way that you can. Enjoy chess and life.